Hello everyone, for this video I will discuss the principles involving properties of the special parallelogram. So before we proceed to the principles, these are the special parallelograms. Special parallelograms are rhombus, rectangle, and square. Let's proceed to principle 1. Principle 1, a rectangle, rhombus, or square has all the properties of a parallelogram. So what are the properties of parallelogram? A parallelogram has 4 properties. These are the opposite angles are equal, opposite sides are equal and parallel, diagonals bisect each other, and sum of any two adjacent angle is 180 degrees. So all these properties of parallelogram also apply to rhombus, rectangle, and square. So let's proceed to principle 2. Each angle of a rectangle is a right angle. So from the definition of a rectangle, it is a parallelogram with a right angle. So for this rectangle ABCD, and let's label one of the angle as right angle. So it is very easy to show that all angles are right angle. We know that in a parallelogram, the consecutive angles are supplementary. So if we have two angles supplementary, let's say angle A and angle B, and one angle is 90 degrees, so the other one must be 90 degrees. So also, if we add up the two, this is equals to 180 degrees. So that's why we can see that all angles of a rectangle are right angle. So let's principle 3, the diagonals of a rectangle are congruent. Let's say this triangle EBC and triangle BCB. If we can show that these two triangles are congruent, then we can show that the diagonals of a rectangle are congruent. So we know that the opposite sides of any parallelogram are congruent or equal. So this side AB must be congruent to side DC. And we also know that angle B is 90 degrees, and also this angle C is 90 degrees. Then, so if two sides are congruent and two angles are congruent, and both triangles share one side which is BC, so it is side angle side congruent. That means triangle ABC and triangle DCB are congruent. Then diagonal AC and diagonal BD also congruent. So thus, in a rectangle ABCD, diagonal AC and diagonal BD are congruent. Principle 4, all sides of a rhombus are congruent. And principle 5, the diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular bisector of each other. So from the definition of a rhombus, a parallelogram with two adjacent sides congruent. So let's say this, side AB and side AD are congruent. And we know that opposite sides of any parallelograms are congruent. So this side AB is congruent to side CD, and side AD must be congruent to side BC. So we can see that all sides of rhombus are congruent. The fifth principle says that these two diagonals are perpendicular to each other, which means it's form four right angles with the intersect. So this one. So let's check that. So if we look at triangle ABE and triangle CBE, we can see that these are congruent triangles because side AB is congruent to side CB, and they both show side BE. And side AE is congruent to side AC because side AC is the diagonals, and in any parallelogram, the diagonals bisect each other. So side AC has been bisected. That means side AE is congruent to side AC. So we have two congruent triangles now. So a corresponding angles of two triangles, so they must be the same, and it is supplementary angles. So if I got two supplementary angles, then the angle must be 90 degrees each. So that means, so this is also 90 degrees, this is 90 degrees, and this is 90 degrees. So that means that the diagonals are perpendicular within bisect, so form right angles. So let's proceed to, thus, in a rhombus ABC, side AC and diagonal AC and diagonal BD are perpendicular bisector of each other. So let's proceed to principle 6. The diagonals of a rhombus bisect the vertex angles. So side AC bisect angle A and angle C. So thus, in rhombus ABCD, angles side diagonal AC bisect A and angle C. So principle 7, the diagonals of a rhombus form four congruent triangles. So these are the four congruent triangles. So this is first triangle, and this is the second triangle, the third triangle, and the fourth triangle. So these are the four congruent triangles. So let's proceed to principle 8. A square has all the properties of both the rhombus and the rectangle. So by the definition, a square is both rectangle and a rhombus. So we can say that square has square has four congruent sides and four congruent angles, four right angles, and diagonals bisect each other. Diagonals are equal and form four right angles in the intersect, and it has four congruent triangles. It forms four congruent triangles. So that's all for today. I hope you learned something. Thank you for watching. God bless.